Coming up on today's Locked On Dodgers, no game for the Dodgers, so we'll get into a little bit of news, a little bit about the NL West, and then talk about Dodger Stadium. So that's what's on tap, so make sure to keep it Locked On Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. I want to thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day every day. And I want to remind you that we are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. Make it easy on yourself and subscribe in all those places, and you'll never miss a day because you know we're not going to. And although I did miss a few days, Jeff was here, so the Locked On Dodgers didn't miss any days. If this is your first time listening or watching, I'm Vince Samperio. That's my co-host, Jeff Snider. And we are lifelong Dodger fans just like you. We've also spent time covering the Dodgers in the press box and the locker room. But we're not quite insiders, which may be a good thing. And we bring you the smart fans perspective on your boys in blue every weekday morning. So go ahead and subscribe wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. And let's talk Dodgers. Jeff, I'm going to welcome myself back since I'm the one hosting, but, welcome back to
me.
Can
I welcome you back too? Welcome back,
go
folks.
ahead. Yeah, we are back together, and unfortunately, no game to talk about, but we do have some things to talk about regarding the Dodgers, more specifically regarding Dodger Stadium a little bit later in the episode. But, yeah, I don't know if you've been following along. I went to St. Louis. I went to Kansas City, knocked two more stadiums off of my list. And I had thought I was at 21, but we went back and checked, and I'm only at 20, so I still have 10 more to go. But hopefully you're going to be there in the next few years.
Yeah, that's exciting. You're catching up with me. I've just got Minnesota left, but so you got to see Bobby Witt Jr.'s first home run in person.
Yeah, I did.
When I went to a game in Kansas City, I got to see Greg Holland's 100th career save. And I got to see an umpire slip and fall while making a safe call. And I was actually on TV laughing at him in the background. And I got to see the Royals beat Madison Bumgarner, which unfortunately they weren't able to do a couple months later in the 2015 or 2014 World Series. So but August of 2014 is when I was there. So it's been a while.
Nice, yeah. So we're moving on from that. Going to talk Dodgers. Just catching up on some news. Carson Fulmer, in the span of the last week, was brought onto the active roster, was then designated for assignment, and looks like he cleared waivers and has accepted going back down to the minors for the Dodgers. So somebody that we could see later on in the season. And, even though we didn't really get to see him do too much, or he didn't pitch, right? I don't think.
No, he warmed up.
We didn't even get to see him pitch. But just kind of, I don't know. Do you find yourself rooting for redemption stories at this point? Obviously, we don't. It doesn't matter who ends up being good for the Dodgers, but I do like the fact when they get these redemption stories. We've had a lot offensively: Max Muncy, Chris Taylor, Justin Turner. We've had a few pitching wise, nothing like too crazy, but I find myself for whatever reason rooting for Fulmer maybe a little bit more than some other guys.
Yeah, maybe. The Dodgers have kind of picked guys off so many different kinds of scrap heaps that, this one would be kind of new because they haven't really done this on the pitching side. They've, Tony Cingrani was kind of close. He was a top prospect who then just, supposed to be a starter and ended up in the bullpen, and the Dodgers made something out of him. He was better with the Dodgers than he had been anywhere else. Also a former Red like Fulmer is. So that might be the closest parallel. And I definitely was rooting for Cingrani. Mostly it's just, Fulmer looked really good in spring training. And so I'm excited to see what he can do. I was a little nervous when the Dodgers DFA'd him to get him back off the 40-man roster. I assume they had a pretty good idea that nobody was going to claim him. Because it would be kind of weird. The Dodgers signed him to a minor league contract. He hasn't pitched in the big leagues yet. He's been solid in AAA this year, but like 2.31 ERA and 11 2/3 innings. He's been solid, but probably not enough to convince anybody yet that he that they want to use a 40-man roster spot on him. So uh, it was kind of weird that they did call him up in that situation when it could have been, any other relief pitcher, and then not used him at all. But ultimately, I'm really glad that he cleared through and is still in the organization, because I do think it's entirely possible. I guess Brandon Morrow was another guy kind of in that Tony Cingrani mold. I'd love to see if Carson Fulmer could end up like Brandon Morrow. And Morrow didn't make his Dodgers debut till Memorial Day that year, and so that actually might be a better parallel. Just the former top draft pick, right-handed pitcher, former starter, turned reliever, sign on a minor league deal. So yeah, I think I just decided that Carson Fulmer will be exactly like Brandon Morrow this year. So that's good. Congratulations to us.
Yeah, no, he's going to turn that down. Next part, moving on, talking about the NL West. The NL West is the only division right now with Diamondbacks clinging at 500, with all 5 teams at 500 or better. And not necessarily, I don't necessarily think the Rockies and the D-backs for that matter are going to be near 500 by the end of this. But we're a month in, almost exactly. It's 4 Thursdays ago that the season started. And, we're looking at the Dodgers sitting atop the NL West right now, the Padres right behind them. And then you got technically the Rockies right behind them. Well, not technically, they are right behind them. And then the Giants right behind the Rockies. But just a quick, setup. Just obviously, I don't think either one of us believe in the Rockies, but do either one of us believe in these Padres?
I do think the Padres are a good team, and a lot of it comes down to Manny Machado is not going to continue to hit as well as he is currently, but Manny Machado is a very good hitter. The flip side of that is Eric Hosmer is also not going to continue to hit as well as he is, because he's not actually a very good hitter. A lot of it might come down to how good Tatis is when he comes back. If he comes back this year, I assume he will. We'll have to see how he plays. Obviously, their defense will probably get worse when he comes back, since he made 964,000 errors last year. And this year, the Padres don't make errors. And so it'll be a hit defensively, but obviously when he's healthy, he's a better offensive player than whoever's been replacing him. And can their pitching stay healthy? So I think the Padres are for real-ish. I think, what I said before the season was I expect the Padres and Giants to have a pretty hard-fought battle for second place in the division. And I don't think I've seen anything that has totally dissuaded me from that basic idea. I think that's about where I still am.
Yeah, and it's the same thing for the Padres. Obviously, they haven't added to that depth that we kind of talked about for the season. I don't know. CJ Abrams is having a tough time at the plate, but he is better defensively. I'm not sure if when Tatis comes back, if there's plans to maybe keep him in the outfield. He played a little bit outfield in the past due to other injuries. I don't think Will Myers has been hitting that well, so Profar's been decent. Grisham actually has not been good offensively for a while now, so they still have their issues, and I think their starting pitching is obviously where they're gonna want to live. That's their bread and butter. They got Yu Darvish, they got Blake Snell coming back, although Blake Snell didn't give up a home run to Diego Cartaya, so hopefully we see that in, maybe next season or in a couple of years in real life up in the Dodgers. But Mike Clevenger came back, and they are looking to trade Dinelson Lamet now in order to maybe get a utility type guy to kind of fill in and bring something there. I don't know if they're going to end up getting that, but yeah, for me it's the same because they're one Machado injury away, or even a Cronenworth or anybody really, even if they're not hitting that well, they're one injury away from somebody. No offense to Matt Beatty, but Matt Beatty playing an everyday role, maybe in a position spot, and you lose a little bit defensively there as well. Luke Voigt's been hurt. So I don't think they're, quite there in terms of competing with the Dodgers, but it does make everything a little bit more fun when they are competing. Even though last year, we say that, and last year maybe wasn't as fun going toe for toe with the Giants and ended up losing to them by 1 game. But that was one of the first, 2018 counts, even though that was kind of a weird year. But other than that, the Dodgers haven't really had that wire to wire. You have to watch every game until the end of the season type of year.
Yeah, and I noticed the series the Dodgers played with the Padres this year lacked some of that intensity that last year's did on the fan side, and so it would be nice if the Padres can keep this going for another month or so to really kind of cement that they're actually serious about the division.
Yeah. We're going to talk about Dodger Stadium. We had a question from a list or a few questions from a listener, and we love talking about Dodger Stadium. We're going to get into that. First, talk about Built Bar because, summer's coming and maybe you want to. There's different ways you can want your summer body. You can want to have a snack for the summer. You can want something to feed people or your kids or whoever when you're on the go, when you're on vacation, when you're at the beach. Whatever it is, Built Bar can help you do that. You don't have to sacrifice deliciousness for healthiness. You can get it all with Built Bars, and you can go to built.com and check it all out. They got Built Bars, they got Built Puffs, which are marshmallow infused protein. They're all good for you. They all got low calorie, low sugar, low carbs, high protein, high fiber, a bunch of different flavors. They're always changing flavors. You can get a mix box, try a bunch of different flavors. There's really no downside to Built Bar other than you don't have it in your house or your establishment already. And even better, you can get 15% off your order right now if you go to built.com and use the promo code LOCKED15. That's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. And while chocolate is a way to a special person in your life, a more expensive way to get that special person in your life happy is fine jewelry. And everyday fine jewelry can be found at BlueNile.com. They can help you celebrate all of life's special moments, from creating the custom engagement ring of her dreams to gifting a classic and timeless jewelry piece, all at prices you won't find at a traditional jeweler. Please focus your time and attention on BlueNile.com and check it out. Jewelry typically given as a gift. Mother's Day is coming up. You may have a wife who is a mother to your children. You may have a girlfriend, mother to your children, a mother-in-law, grandmother, your own mother, whatever it is. BlueNile.com can help you out. And not only can they help you out by providing these rings and things at great prices, but they can even help you choose it because they have jewelry experts on hand 24/7, available via phone or chat to help you find a memorable gift at every budget. So this Mother's Day, give mom something she'll treasure forever with fine jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Locked On Dodgers listeners can get $50 off $500 right now with this podcast exclusive code Locked On. It's only good through Mother's Day, which is this Sunday, so make sure to get it now. That's code Locked On. And remember that every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. So stop stress-free and find your forever peace. Go to BlueNile.com today. All right. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day every day. Make sure to check out the Locked On Now podcast with recaps of MLB games with analysis from our local experts. The Locked On Now podcast takes you through the season like no other network can, free and available wherever you get podcasts. All right, Jeff. So we're going to talk about Dodger Stadium. We got a question. We got some questions from a listener, which is big. Thank you for that. We always accept questions. And yeah, Jeff, believe you have the question in front of you. So if you want to ask the first one.
Yeah, so this is from Benjamin Chamberlain. He says he's a new listener, just started listening this spring training. So we really appreciate that. He's at Ballpark Ben on Twitter. His first question is, where is your favorite place to sit at Dodger Stadium? And I think between the two of us, we might have 20 different answers here.
Yeah, there's a lot of different answers here. I've sat everywhere at Dodger Stadium. I've never sat in a suite for like the whole game, but I've been in a suite before, visiting with some friends when I was there one time. So I've sat everywhere. Uh, it just depends what you're going for. Me personally, I like reserve behind home plate. I like having that little bit of a bird's eye view, seeing the whole field, being able to kind of see everything that's going on, and get the backdrop of behind the stadium and everything else. So like reserve, one preferably, but anywhere reserve 10 through 9 or 11 is pretty good there. But other than that, Loge is probably the best overall because you get the best of both worlds. You're close enough, but you also get a little bit of that view. But for me, it's still reserve. Although back in the day, I will say that right field pavilion was my favorite when they used to have the all-you-can-eat pavilion, especially early on. It was like $25. You can get in. If you got row N, you have that separation, so you have all the space in front of you. That was definitely a go-to for me for a long time. But now I'm a guy, I'll sit anywhere. I will say I like sitting in the press box, but you can't chair in there, so that's one reason that I wouldn't pick that.
Yeah, for sure. Press box has a good view, but yeah, it's kind of stuffy in there. I mean, my favorite place to sit was in the Vin Scully press box right behind Joe and Oral for that game on June 5th, 2017. But I couldn't cheer in there either. But that was okay. I growing up, we always sat in left field pavilion, partly because it was cheap. It was $6 a ticket. Partly because they didn't sell alcohol out there back then, and so my parents liked it. It was a good place to bring a bunch of kids to a game. And yeah, so we sat there, and I really like that view. It's you obviously can't see the action at home plate very well. I've found myself, I kind of like kind of an in between view. Sitting behind home plate is nice, but then you don't have a great view of what's going on in the outfield. And so if there is I remember I was behind home plate kind of at a game 2000, I don't know, 16 or 17, and Jock Peterson robbed a home run. And, I could tell it was a nice catch, but then I had to look up at the board to see replays, and so sometimes it's nice. And obviously you can't be everywhere, but having a little bit better view of the outfield is fun. When my season tickets used to be down the first base line, um, so I got really good views of. I remember the diving catch that Cody Bellinger. I think I mentioned this on last night's episode too. This catch, I didn't mention my memory of it, but the diving catch he made in a postseason game. It might have been that 18 inning game. Uh, all those games run together, but he did like the Superman dive, and so he was coming from center field towards right field. So I actually had a really good view of that, and maybe even the same game. Cody caught a ball and threw it out at home. Uh,
That was against the Brewers. Or
okay,
no, that was 18 inning game, I
was
think.
it? Okay, yeah, I'd have to look, but I know it was that around that time period, and I had a really good view of both of those. Now my seats are the same basic area, except over on the third base side and a little bit down closer to the field. It's a really nice view. I've kind of gotten hooked on the baseline club seats between the good food and being right there by the action. It's a lot of fun. I've sat dugout club a couple times, and it's a cool view. I actually don't, you know, obviously I wouldn't turn it down if one of you has dugout club seats and you want to give them to me. Great. I wouldn't turn it down, but there's something about sitting there that I wouldn't want to do at every game, probably. I've actually never sat top deck for a game. I've been up there, but I've never sat there for a game. I'm afraid of heights, and I feel like I wouldn't enjoy that as much. But I've sat all over the stadium, and I think kind of about where my seats are now is kind of the sweet spot for me. I kind of like, I wouldn't mind being maybe two or three sections closer. I'm in section 43 right now. I wouldn't mind being in, 37, 35, somewhere around there. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with those ones.
Yeah, your seats are cool. I don't know. For whatever reason, field level is not my thing in terms of like getting the overall picture and view of the game. But it is fun occasionally. At least the people I know that go with me to games, to go with me to a Dodger game, that for the most part, probably 99% of the time, I'm not gonna get it from my seat. Once I'm sitting, I'm there to watch the game, and that's kind of where we're at. So what I do like is like the standing room areas that they have at Dodger Stadium now. They added some behind the pavilions, which are cool. You're a little far out there, but I do like the standing room area just because, like I said, if I know people that are there, which I usually end up doing, I can just say, hey, if you want to say hi to me, I'm going to be right here. I'm not going to go to you. There's the right behind home plate on the load section. If you get there early enough, you got to get there really early, like as soon as the gates open. That's a good standing room. That's where the friends and family section is. So you'll see, people that you probably know or follow on social media. You'll see Ellen Kershaw sometimes. You'll
That's how I
see,
found out Ellen was pregnant last year. Was you
yeah,
saw Ellen at a game and you said, "Don't say this publicly, but I'm pretty sure Ellen's pregnant."
yeah. So you see things like that. So yeah, I mean, like I said, there's no bad spot at Dodger Stadium, but just get there wherever you want to sit. I know there's a lot more stuff, and we're going to talk about this in the next question of just with all the renovations and everything else. I think it's done a good job of kind of giving people who are there to watch the game. That's all. That's when I argue about Dodger Stadium being one of the best stadiums or the best stadium, it's because when I'm there to watch a game, there's nothing, you can't beat it. If I want to do other stuff before, you could beat Dodger Stadium, and even now you can. There's still some stadiums that can beat Dodger Stadium at providing an overall vibe and presence in terms of if you're not a diehard baseball fan. But it's very hard for you to just go and watch a baseball game. It's very hard to beat Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember the first time I went to the old ballpark at Arlington, the Rangers' previous stadium. My when I got married, my in-laws lived in the Dallas area, and so we went to a game. And I remember thinking, like, it's a really cool stadium, but it's almost like it's a museum slash amusement park, and there happens to also be a baseball game going on. And Dodger Stadium has always been really good at keeping the focus on baseball. You and I have sat Baseline Club together twice,
Yeah.
and you got to admit, watching Will
Oh,
Smith hit a walk-off homer against the Giants from those seats, that was pretty nice.
yeah, that's true. I think for me, it's more about yours is you don't go to as many games, so you can
Yeah.
have that whatever money's earmarked is there. Whereas for me, before, like, if I'm gonna try to go to 30, 40 games a year, I'm just gonna sit wherever. So I think that's the main part of it. But yeah, obviously it's hard to be being down
Uh,
there.
the home run to left field from the left field Baseline Club seats, you can't beat it because you get to be under it and watch it, go out. And I was there for Chris Taylor's walk off in the wild card game too. And yeah, it's a cool view when watching a home run to left field. So
Yeah, definitely. All right, we got a couple more questions on Dodge Stadium, but first, let's talk about BetOnline because BetOnline.net is your number one source for all betting stats and sports info. For all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news and podcasts, the Locked On Podcast Network is very happy to be part of BetOnline.net. And this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball, and this weekend, the Run to the Roses as the Kentucky Derby is back. Bet those ponies. BetOnline, your continued search for all your sports wagering information from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today, betonline.net, on your laptop or mobile device, and learn more about all the trends and all the action going on. Check it all out, and you won't be disappointed. Bet online where the game starts. All right, let's go on to the next question. Same from Benjamin at Ballpark Ben. He wants to know our favorite feature of the most recent renovation.
sorry, I was muted. I pulled events there.
So, yeah.
One of my most favorite renovations is something you already mentioned, which is the standing room up behind the pavilions. Just overall, what they've done in the pavilions, I really like that. It used to be that you were kind of separated from the rest of the stadium when you were out in the pavilion. And I mean, when it was all you can eat in right field, that was by design. You were separated. Other people couldn't get in. And but when they shuttle you in there when you get there early for batting practice and stuff, you have to be out in the pavilion. And I feel like they've done a really good job of making that feel more like part of the stadium and a cool place to be. You mentioned that standing room, so on a hot sunny day when it is, the sun beats down on those pavilions, you go up to that shade up there and you can watch the game from up there for a little while. There's a lot to really like about out there, especially. I mean, that's where the new front door is out in center field, and with the statues and everything. Everything they've done out there in the pavilions in that area, I think, is really nice and really enhances the baseball watching experience. And like you said, Dodger Stadium, it's always been focused on we're here to watch a baseball game, and I feel like everything they did there makes that experience better.
Yeah, and the front door of that part, the Disneyland vibes you get when you walk in and see that entrance, and then the Blue Heaven on Earth sign, everything else. I think that's aesthetically that's my favorite part. It makes it look like a newer stadium without having to be one of those newer stadiums. And you get the Dodger Stadium was already one of, if not the most Instagram place in the world a few years ago. It's probably always going to be remain up there in top 10 or whatever, at least in sports for sure. So, that part adds to it in terms of just making it fun. I do appreciate them adding those elevators because as someone who does sit in reserve a lot of times, depending where you end up parking or sometimes we take the bus, you got to make the trek up the stairs. You got to decide, do I want to go the left field side and take all the stairs, but it's closer to where the bus gets off or where I'm parked maybe, or go the right field way. I got to walk all the way across the field, but then I'm going to have those escalators going from Lowe's to reserve. So I did appreciate that, them allowing you to come in from whatever gate, because, I think well, at least of any of the stadiums I've been to, Dodger Stadium was the only one where you had to go through specific gate to where you were sitting. Up until a few years ago, you couldn't even really move around the stadium. If you were in reserve, you were in reserve, or you can go up, but you couldn't go back down. Up until maybe 5-6 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. But now you can go around, move about freely, and I like it. And I like even though I don't really frequent it, I really like the bar that's under the left field pavilion. It's built ready for when sports betting becomes legal in California. I would assume it would become like a mini sports book in there. But it's for those games in the summer when you get there early, nice and cool in there. They got food, they got drinks, they have all the TVs on. You can watch all the East Coast games. I know some people stay in there and watch the game in there. I would never do that, but it's fun for, like I said, it's fun that they've added all these things for people that are not necessarily there for the baseball. And that's, what makes it a difference. So the Dodgers were already getting 50,000 every night, but now you can consistently continue to get that because if you're going for have a good time, you can go to have a good time. If they're going to watch baseball, you can go to watch baseball. If you want to do a little bit of both, you can do a little bit of both. And I just think that whole renovation, the whole part of it of making it accessible to any type of fan is what really, puts it over the top.
Yeah, absolutely. It used to be a perk of having season tickets that they bragged you're allowed to go up and down in the stadium at will, and you just flash your little card. And now they don't even give us the cards anymore. It's all on the app on the phone, and everybody's allowed to go up and down. Like you have to share with the peasants, But
I think what do you guys still get? Don't you guys get the Vin Scully lounge still to yourself, or the Tommy Lasorda lounge in right field? You
I
probably wouldn't
actually
go there;
don't
it's a
know.
bar, but
Yeah,
I
I
think you
actually
have to
don't
get
know.
the code. It's like a speakeasy, and I think season ticket holders can go get the code in order to be let in.
Oh, good to know. Yeah, I haven't been to a game this year, and yeah, I like you said, I don't frequent bars. So, all right, last question from Ben. He asked if you could change one thing about Dodger Stadium, what would it be?
I mean, it's got to be the parking. It's that and that whole situation. At least to me, I don't mind the location. I don't, there's a lot of stadiums now that are built into the downtowns of areas, which is obviously really cool, really nice, and really can be really fun. But I do think I don't know. I don't know what the difference is between now and back in the day. Because when I was a kid, I remember, Dodger Stadium used to be 56,000 full capacity, and it still used to fill up 40, 50,000, on big nights, maybe 30, 40,000 on lower nights. And I remember going to a lot of Dodger games as kids, and I don't remember it taking that long to get out of the parking lot. Obviously, there's a lot more cars on the road in general, so getting out like onto the freeway that might be part of it. But for whatever reason, it takes forever. I don't like that you kind of you can't like before I used to know which gate to go into to where I want to park. And I think now they're starting to do it a little bit more, which is a little bit more consistent if you have like general parking. But it's a matter of, if people knew exactly where to go, based on where they're sitting, it'd be a lot easier. It's very, I just think the whole parking is all jacked up and even the part of where how they park you, like they park you right next to the other cars right away. Where if they went every other car, let people get out and have space, and then the next car comes in, it works a lot better. So yeah, and then when you're stuck in the parking lot after a game, and then there's no service because everybody's trying to be on their phone, so then you're just kind of stuck in like it feels like the olden times. So I think parking is where I would go for that.
I respect that. And honestly, you said it's obvious. It didn't even cross my mind because I figured out 5 or 6 years ago, probably 6 or 7 years ago, early on in my time as season ticket holder, uh, I pay a little extra. I buy the preferred parking for the season too, and I have that down to an art. In the last 6 years, the longest I've sat in the parking lot after a game is 6 minutes, and that's I've been to World Series games, opening day games, everything. I've got down to an art. So if any of you are going to a game, feel free to hit me up, and I'll tell you some of my secrets about how to park. I won't tell you all my secrets
The
because
secret is to pay extra $15,
well,
which
but
I'm
even
not gonna
then,
do. I'm not gonna do.
even people sitting in, there's more to it than that. But yeah, that definitely does help. You pay the extra for the preferred parking. For me, the thing I would do to improve Dodger Stadium would be the food. It's not great food. Like I said, I've been to 29 of the current stadiums. I've been to 4 others that are no longer in use. So I've been to 33 major league stadiums, and Dodger Stadium food is definitely in the bottom half of those. Uh, you don't necessarily, and maybe that's why this one didn't cross your mind because you don't really eat at the stadium. You eat beforehand, and
which is why that needs to be
yeah,
improved.
yeah, and so it's the San Diego, great food at their stadium, and you know Petco Park. Other than the garbage team that plays there, it's a really nice stadium down there in San Diego, and they do a lot of things right. I still like Dodger Stadium more, of course, even not factoring for teams. But I feel like there's so much good food in Southern California. It's kind of sad that they haven't figured out a way to get more of that into Dodger Stadium. It seems like they ought to be able to do that, whether it's food trucks or something, or just bringing in different things. And I think they're trying to do that with their Taco Tuesday this year. I think they're going through a variety of local taco places or whatever on each Tuesday home game. And so maybe that'll be a start. And they added a lot more restaurants. They have a Shake Shack there now, which Shake Shack's expensive even when it's not at a baseball stadium. I assume it is an arm and a leg at Dodger Stadium. But the food's good. But yeah, a lot more and better food options would be definitely top of my list, I think.
Yeah, that's true. Like I said, it didn't cross my mind just because and it would make sense for it to cross since the reason I don't eat there is because they don't have good food.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think San Diego specifically does a good job of getting San Diego places into the stadium. They have the Hodads, for burgers. They have Lucha Libre. They have a couple other ones. They have I think the pizza place, whatever it's called, Pizza Port, I think. They integrate that in. San Diego's a great food city, and they integrate that into it. And I think that Dodger Stadium. I know they try every year and they add new things and everything else, but I do think that that it's almost like a complete overhaul would be needed to even get on my radar, to even make me want to try to eat there or make an effort to eat there, just because the stuff they add is cool, but other than wanting to try it or whatever, I think there's a lot more food around there, even within 5 miles of the stadium, that can beat anything that's in there. And it's pretty hard to change people's minds. I know the Dodger dog is famous, but there's nothing other than the Dodger dog. There's really nothing famous at Dodger Stadium for you to eat. People always, that's one of the main questions I get asked for people going out there for the first time or whatever. And I always tell them, go eat. I was like, you can have the Dodger dog for the fact of having a Dodger dog, but if not, I'll give you a list of places to go eat even around the stadium, because it just doesn't bring much to the table.
Yeah, and even the Dodger dog. The only good thing about Dodger dog is it means you're at Dodger Stadium. As far as ballpark hot dogs go, it's middle of the pack at best too. It's a hot dog, and it's not bad because hot dogs are never bad. But there's nothing special about it except it means you're at Dodger Stadium. If you're the kind of person who buys a Dodger dog at AM/PM, I don't understand you, because you're not at Dodger Stadium when you're at AM/PM, and you could get one.
I would buy them on the way to Dodger Stadium.
Sure, stuff it in your pocket and take it in.
Yeah. Well, they don't. I've seen people taking full Little Caesars pizza, so I think that's the one thing that does help, and that you do see at Dodger Stadium is people buying food from around like other local eateries and eating it in there.
There's a Jack in the Box on Sunset that I drive past every time I'm coming into the stadium, so maybe I'll hit that next time.
Yeah. Staying on food, I will say, if you're going to a Dodger game this year, and if you like tacos, they've been setting up there before the game, so you can go before or definitely after. Angels Tijuana Taco sets up right down on Sunset. Where Guisados is at, a little bit further down towards Figueroa. That's one of the best tacos in LA right now. So I would recommend that. Not at Dodger Stadium, but it's near Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
So, all right, Jeff, anything else you want to add?
No, I'm just looking back to our National League West conversation earlier. Did you know that I'm pretty sure the opening day series between the Dodgers and the Rockies is the only games that the Rockies have played against a team that's over 500?
I did not know that.
Yeah. Since then, they've played Rangers, Cubs, Phillies, Tigers, Phillies, Reds, and then Nationals. So, I think that tells you all you need to know about whether the Rockies are for real. We'll see what happens when they start playing. They play the Giants next week, starting on Monday. So that will be a little bit of a test for them and start to see. So,
Yeah, we'll talk about that next week if they do happen to impress us. But for this weekend, the Dodgers are in Chicago. Got some early games on the schedule, midday games or early midday, before afternoon, Friday, Saturday. I think they're the Sunday night game on Sunday. So I look forward to all the complaints about the broadcasting on Sunday night.
That's always fun.
Yeah, but that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day every day. Make sure to check out Locked On MLB for another listen with our buddy Paul Francis Sullivan, a.k.a. Sully, bringing you stuff from around the MLB and bringing on some of the Locked On hosts sometimes. I know Jeff's been on there before, so check it out. That's going to do it for us. Make sure to follow us social media, Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Dodgers. DMs are open on those accounts. DMs are also open on their personal accounts. Jeff is at Snider. I'm at Vince Samperio. Other ways to get a hold of us are email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be with us when you get in your car or if you're at home. To your smart device, play podcast, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.
We'll talk to you on Monday.